First thing, Pilgrim, you're new, and you look it. Here's 200 drakes, so we've just gotten a free 200 gold as well from Caius. Go get yourself a decent weapon or armor or a spell, and second thing, you need to cut a cover identity. Around here, freelance adventurer is a common profession. Sign on with the Fighters Guild or Mages Guild or Imperial Cult or Imperial Legion, advance in the ranks, gain skill and experience, or go out on your own and look for freelance work. Or trouble. Then, when you're ready, come back and I'll have orders for you. Your journal has been updated. So, you can ask about each of those guilds if you so choose. Blades trainers, we've already asked about. We can ask about the Blades. He'll tell us about it, some history, some lore. Fighters Guild, we can ask about the Fighters Guild, and he'll tell us Fighters Guild is a professional organisation chartered by the Emperor to regulate the hiring and training of mercenaries. Training goods and services are cheaper for members, and the guild stewards know where to find work. You have to start your service with Idis Fire-Eye, the Balmora Guild Steward. She's new and I don't know her well. Perseus Mercius, odd name, the Aldrune Guild Steward, I know and trust, but he only handles higher ranking assignments. So basically that means you won't be able to get orders from the Aldrune Mages Guild until you've actually started here in Balmora and gotten your rank up a little bit in the guild. So you have to start with that. So that's the Fighters Guild. Imperial Cult. The Imperial Cult worships the 9 divines. The Aedra, Akatosh, Dibella, Arche, Zenithar, Mara, Stendar, Kynareth, and Julianos, and Tiber Septim. Founder and patron of the Empire. In Morrowind, it's partly maintaining the faith for our outlanders like us, and partly missionary cult, bringing enlightenment to the heathen Dunmer. You can see Sumutis Vunis at Fort Moonmoth to join, but you'd have to go to Ebonheart if you want to become a lay servant. So, I guess you have to go to Fort Moonmoth to join the Imperial Cult, but to actually take quests, you have to go to Ebonheart. So, that's basically what that's saying. So, if we press Fort Moonmoth, Moonmoth Fort is the Imperial Legion garrison southeast of Balmora, just outside of town. Rad Hardheart is the knight in charge between the Imperial Legion and Imperial Cult staff. They have about a dozen service providers out there. So, I don't know if that's actually given us directions to Fort Moonmoth or not. A lay servant served the Imperial Cult by doing various tasks. Not a lot of excitement, but safe, honourable and rewarding. First, you have to join the Imperial Cult, and then go to the Imperial Chapels in Ebonheart to get work. So, yeah, that's good stuff. There's a lot of stuff still in here. I don't think we have anything else that we can particularly... we haven't selected Mages Guild yet, have we? It's a guild for the arcane arts, and it's where you go to find wizards for hire. Training, goods, and services are cheaper for members. So really the only reason for a warrior to join the Mages Guild is to be able to buy and sell certain things to them. So, you know, that's why I would join the Mages Guild personally, even as a warrior. But that's it, basically. I think we've gotten all the information we're going to get in here. He has some books, which I believe will give us some level ups, possibly. Which books are they, though? That's the question here. Oh, he's got a locked chest. I would have thought you had... Oh, yeah, he's got a skooma problem as well. He's got some moon... Yeah, he's got a moon sugar addiction. He's got a bit of a problem, guys, all right? Let him be. Let him be. He's got an addiction. So, I want to try and explain what I love about Morrowind, because I have not gotten an opportunity to as of yet. And this is probably the one and only time that I am ever going to do this. This is going to be an incredibly long and incredibly boring video for the most part. I am literally just showing you the character I have just started on PC, and may make a video on the character I have on Xbox at some point. But in terms of like being able to explain my thoughts on Morrowind, this is probably going to be the best video for that. So I'm going to stand here, although I would like a better vantage point, honestly. Maybe standing somewhere where I can look across the river. if the game decides not to lag too much. Yeah, here we go. You can get up on the roof right here. We've got a bit of a view up here across the river. Can't really see too far, but you know, we can see a little. We can press T to wait. It's 11 p.m. If we wait 11 hours, it might be daytime. Yeah, it's daytime, but it's still raining. So, let me try to explain what I really like about Morrowind. The first thing that I noted about Morrowind when I first played it, trying to get around the complexities of starting a character, was that the game doesn't hold your hand. It's something that a lot of people actually pick as a complaint for Morrowind. There's no waypoints, for example. You don't get a quest marker pointing you in any direction. You have to read. And while I don't think that's a particularly horrible system, I can understand why people don't like it when they've been spoiled by quest markers. A lot of people seem to say, like, you know, well, you get lost and you spend hours wandering around. It's the counter argument to that, I would say, is Morrowind is built in such a way as that there will always be something you will bump into. If you can't find exactly where you need to go during the course of a certain quest and you get lost, as you put it, there will always be something that you will end up bumping into that will take your time up, that will give you something to do. You don't just wander around aimlessly doing nothing for hours on end like Skyrim. In Skyrim, you can literally just wander across the landscape doing basically nothing and completing no quests for hours if you want to. It's very easy to do so. There are still plenty of quests in Skyrim, but at the end of the day, most of the land is filled with basically nothing for you to do, or nothing of merit anyway that actually helps your character to grow. In this game, everything matters so much to a point that if you come across loot during some random venture into a dungeon, say you get lost while looking for something else you're trying to do, and you end up looking in some dungeon you pass by, and then in there you find a piece of armor, you know, that's got an enchantment on it that helps your fatigue, then you've just made your character able to fight for longer, to hold up against certain enemies, because fatigue is the base stat for everything. It's the base stat for combat, it's the base stat for running, it's the base stat for everything. So you need fatigue. And if you've got a piece of armor from some random loot that lets you make your fatigue go up, then that's fantastic. It benefits you. In Skyrim, there's nothing like that. You don't just wander into a dungeon and find something that's gonna allow your character to be any better than what he currently is. Your character can do everything right from the get-go. Your character can do magic, your character can use any weapon, can use any armor, can do basically anything they want to. In this game, you have such a limitation that you have to be careful what you're going to do for any particular playthrough. You know, like I've said, actually I don't think I've said it, I might have said it, but I'll repeat it, because it should be oft repeated. When you make your character, you need to commit. You know, if you're going to be a warrior, what kind of warrior are you going to be? If you're going to be a mage, what kind of mage are you going to be? Or do you want to be a thief? Do you want to be someone who goes around killing everybody? You know, this is your choice in how you want to play your character. You can't just start with one thing and then end up being another. I say that you can if you know what you're doing, but you've got to be a very experienced Morrowind player to know how to trick the game and cheat it into allowing you to do certain things that you shouldn't be able to do, and to completely break it. But in terms of like the actual vanilla roleplay of Morrowind, you want to be able to pick and choose and do something specific, so that you don't get confused along the way. You know what your character is, you know what you're aiming for, and you stick to that. So that's the first thing. The second thing I noted was the way the game environment explains things to you. So the character dialogues, right, they don't say much with their voices like they do in modern Elder Scrolls. There's not a lot of voice acting. Everything is reading, and you keep track of it in your journal. But if you want to go back, say you've got pages upon pages and pages of stuff in your journal, if you want something specific, the journal does allow you, I can even show you, to open up a menu in the options where you can select by letter or topics or quests to remind yourself of particular things that you may have stopped doing hours and hours ago, or even weeks ago. You know, you might have spent weeks like going off the beaten path doing other things, and then there's a quest that you forgot to complete, but you can just find it and go back to it and remind yourself what it was. So it's not as bad as some people make it out to be. I think the quests are okay. I think they're rather well laid out in terms of the way it helps you to keep track of them. So that's the second thing. The third thing that I noted was when it comes to combat. So Morrowind's combat is infamous for being awful in some cases because it uses dice roll, which means when you go to hit an enemy, the game basically rolls a digital dice that decides whether you're going to hit the enemy, and if you do, how much damage you do. And this has been, for time immemorial, something that people have used to infinitely complain about with Morrowind. And even I was scared to play Morrowind for a long time because of this dice roll system that scared the death out of me. That I was just like, no, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna invest my time in something that seems completely broken. But it's not as difficult as you would think it is. Simply put, as long as you use the weapon related to whatever skill is in your major skills. So if you're going to use a long blade, then you put long blade as a major skill, and then you find a long blade, whether you buy it in a store or find it off an enemy, and that would be the best weapon your character can use, because that is the highest skill you have for an offensive weapon. It's the same with magic. If you want to use destruction, then you want destruction to be a major skill, so that your destruction spells will hit more often and do more damage when they do hit. Agility is important, and so is luck in regards to being able to hit enemies, you know, the dice roll. So dice roll is affected by a few different attributes, and I feel like as long as you make sure that depending on what your character is going to be, that those attributes are respective of that, then you're not going to suffer with any problems. I certainly haven't. On my character on Xbox, I've been completely fine. I started off and I was hitting sometimes, and other times I wasn't, but I was keeping my defense. You know, I was making sure I had armor to reflect the skill that I had, which was heavy and medium armor because I used the warrior preset class. But you know, because I had the right armor on, I had the full armor rating I could for what I was wearing, or almost the full armor rating. My skills were already high because they were major skills, which meant that I was being defended against most damage that was coming at me. The only thing that was doing a lot of damage really was magic. And even then, you know, you can you make sure you have something to defend yourself, and also to refill your health when you need it as well. It's a good idea to stock up on health potions before you do anything in this game if you're that worried about dying, because then if you get a bit low on health at any point, you can just down a health potion and then back off a little bit. The only things that can still hurt you when you back off are enemies that throw projectiles at you, and magic projectiles are slow and easy to dodge. It's the ones that shoot arrows at you, or fast projectiles, that cause a bit of a problem because they're fast, and if they're up close to you, then it can be hard to avoid them if they do hit. But of course they're subject to the same dice roll system you are, so they won't always hit you. So it's a give and take, and it's something that I think people don't give enough respect to, because it is a good system when you know exactly how it works. It's just that a lot of people don't, so they look at it and they go, nah. Or they look at some of those infamous video clips of someone just swinging and swinging and swinging and swinging and swinging a sword and never hitting the fucking enemy in front of them. And to be honest, that looks clearly to me, now that I've played Morrowind, like someone who purposely used a weapon that they don't have a high skill in. And that's it. They went in the game, they used a weapon they didn't have a high skill in, and they just recorded themselves trying to hit an enemy with a weapon then they have no skill in. So they just weren't doing any damage at all. They weren't even hitting them. You know, you've got to respect the dice roll system, and the dice roll system will respect you. So let me actually take an opportunity now that I've spoken a bit, and let me actually just show you some combat. So the simple way to do that is just if we find our way out of Balmora. Exactly where are we currently in Balmora? Are we on the east or the west side? We are up north on the east side. We can't actually leave on this side. We can leave on that side though, so we need to cross over. So this leads to Caldera over here on the right. So we're going to head up that road, and there'll be a few enemies on that road on the way to Caldera, so I can show you what the combat is actually like. But let me just show you. I've got block and long blade as major skills, and I have a shield and a long blade. So I've got what I need. I've got what is related to my class, to my character. So I am now going to, well, I'm going to hit an enemy, and I'm going to actually do damage to them because I have what I need in order to be able to do that. Also, the game has lagged again. I don't know why it does that. I don't know whether that's the game loading in a cell like it does on console, or whether it's literally just the game freezing for a moment for dumb, stupid reasons that it shouldn't be. My athletic skill is increased to 36. That will increase as you walk around. You literally don't need to do anything to increase athletics. It will just increase of its own accord as you walk around and jump around. Speaking of which, jumping is E. Here's an enemy right here. A very, very simple, easy enemy. So as you can see, my block skill is quite high. So sometimes I'll actually block it when it tries to hit me. There you go, see? And if I hit it, I'm using a good weapon, which has an enchantment on it, which does, I think, spark damage or lightning damage or something. And you can see, I'm hitting them. You know, I'm missing now, but for the most part, I am hitting them. And there you go, my long blade skill has increased. So you can see, and also I didn't take much damage either because I've got good defense. So you can see, like, as long as you've got your skill up, you know, you're gonna hit. You know, the dice roll is not completely unfair to you if you're using the right weapon. And of course, if you've got a higher block as well, and you're going to be using a shield, then you're going to not take damage sometimes because you're going to block sometimes. You won't always block, but when you do, it saves you from damage for that hit. So there you go. You know, it's a system that gets shat on a lot, but it does work, and I've learned to respect it with the time that I've spent in Morrowind so far. Let me just put my weapons away. So what do I talk about from here? I think I've basically gone over everything that I feel is important to talk about with Morrowind. I talked about the skill system. I talked about the combat. I talked about the quest system. I talked about the dialogue and you know, all the reading. So I think I've gone over pretty much everything that really matters with Morrowind, and the things that I like about it. I mean, there are little details as well that I really like about Morrowind. You know, I love the fact that I love the fact that containers don't reset, right? When you walk into a house and you loot the house of every item you can pick up, it will never respawn. You know, whereas in Oblivion and Skyrim, if you wait a certain amount of time, every item you pick up will eventually respawn or be replaced, and you know, something of a higher level will respawn or whatever, you know, if your character levels up. In this game, if you take something, it stays taken. The only containers in the game that reset are faction containers, which contain faction-related items that you can use, and you can wait to reset those containers to get an infinite supply of stuff from those chests if you want to. Or natural containers, which are all containers containing natural items like ores or alchemy ingredients.